All right. Woohoo! I'm here live with some amazing entrepreneurs, Allison and Jared. My name is Eric Mish. I'm a lifestyle coach and entrepreneur, and we're so excited to come to you live on multiple platforms today. We're live on YouTube, we're live on Facebook, and we are live on Instagram. So if you've just joined the live, please let us know, where are you tuning in from? What part of the country, what part of the world, because we're international here. And if you're watching the replay, put replay in the comments. Thank you all for being here. We're going to tackle a business transformation topic today. We're going to hear a little bit more about Allison and Jared's journey as entrepreneurs, as professional network marketers, direct sellers for a number of years now. They're just an amazing couple. And I hope that either during or after this live, you have a chance to follow them on various social media channels and get to know them and their story a little bit better. And if you haven't checked out the live that we did on YouTube and a couple of other platforms just a few weeks ago, please go back and watch that, but we're going to dive into their story a little bit more. So the title of this live today is We Thought We Were Fine Until We Weren't. And I wanted to highlight the part of their story in late 2019, early 2020. As many of you can remember, looking back, it was a very uncertain time in our history. And this was right around the time that Allison and Jared decided to make some major pivots and shifts in their career. So I'm going to let them kind of pick up the story. Late 2019, late 2020, or early 2020. What were both of you doing professionally?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, wow. Well, that was quite a time, right? We were both of us working. We had two kids, and we were both working full time. I was doing more styling. I was in the fashion industry. Jared was working in
marketing and film, graphic design, stuff like that.
Yeah, and we were really stressed out. At that time, I know a lot of people were switching to working from home, but still, working for someone else, clocking in, being, just before COVID hit, Jared could explain a little bit, just where we were at, kind of, because it was putting a huge strain on our relationship, on our family. Both of us had no choice but to, work because of the, having two kids and having a lifestyle that we wanted to at least, and we weren't living extravagant, but just to maintain the bills and everything, it's expensive. So yeah,
I think like most people, we were working separately, we were working in parallel, trying to build this income. We tried to build businesses too. We tried to do a catering business. Allison was really into making these bowls, these delicious, healthy bowls, but it was a lot of work. We had to wake up super early and make these bowls, and then very little revenue. We were barely breaking even with it. So it was basically doing it out of the goodness of our heart. And we tried other unsuccessful business attempts. I think we tried about 8 different businesses.
This is while we were also working, our full-time jobs when we started. Yeah. So, there was no time to really focus as much on building a whole other business. So that is something that, to start building a business from scratch while you're working full-time is pretty unrealistic. We tried many times. But with Purium, what was so cool was, because we were still working at that time. This is before lockdowns and things like that. But we were working, and we were working full-time, and I was enjoying the shakes. We were just enjoying the food, the health transformation, and sharing it very organically, people really just attracting people, because actually the benefits were even showing at work and things like that. But I was building the business on the side while we were working, because it was such an easy business to build, as opposed to some of the other businesses from the ground up that we had to take care of every facet of the business, the shipping, the creating of the product, the marketing, all of it. Purium was such a turnkey business that we were able to just kind of plug and play. And then as 2019, 2020 hit, we were like, we don't want to, like, this is when a lot of people were switching to, I think some of your job was going to be it was very stressful time. Like, there was a lot of uncertainty, like you said, and we wanted to have freedom. Freedom was something that was quite a popular word, I think, at that time, because it was taken away from us in a lot of ways. And I think that Purium, this business and this food, just represented this ticket to freedom. That so we leaned all the way 2020. We transferred, basically, like, we had matched I had matched my salary already with Purium, just in doing it organically. Then we had the goal of matching Jared's salary. So, we can say by 2020, we could actually be, like, free. And so that was our 2020, we locked in and we saw the vision for ourselves.
Yeah. Let me take you back to March of 2020, because that's when the world stopped. And it's been over 6 years now since we experienced that moment in history. Some time has gone by, and we can kind of forget how abrupt the full stop was. You guys were in Canada at the time. Can you describe the environment and how that affected employees as soon as the announcement was made? The world stopped.
The world stopped, and we were forced into things. There was a lot of enforcement, where in Canada especially, there was a lot of social distancing,
curfew,
very ridiculous types of protocols, like at work. I remember having, the cubicle spaces around us, where that was kind of one of the good things about work, was the social aspect, but having these, like, weird, also the mask mandate was really strong here in Montreal. So having no choice but to wear a mask all day long.
I remember I was at the office. I was working full time at that point, and like there's like a strange ambience in the air, and they're like, we're probably going to shut down for 2 weeks. Everyone's going to have to work from home for 2 weeks. And it was like, wow, oh my God, 2 weeks, that's so long. Cut to like 2 years later, and everyone's still working at home. So that was like a huge shift. I think a lot of my peers who were kind of between jobs or not really working, they were actually into it because they were getting government handout money in Quebec. And so that really like lowered this threshold for like people who were like wanting success. Like people were kind of just like hunkering down, expecting the bare minimum, like being on the dole. Whereas we were like, okay, we have to level up because we have big dreams. We want to travel. We want to build a home. Like we need to.
There was also, there was a lot of fear in the air. I remember very clearly at that time, a huge energy of fear. And, understandably, there was a lot of unknowns, but we didn't get infected with the fear.
Okay. Walk us through the thought process. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but in moments of fear, people often tend to shrink back. How is it that at that moment, the environment and temperature being what it was, you saw opportunity? Can you just walk us through what was your thought process at that moment?
Well, there was a little beacon of light called Purium. There was this little community that just had this incredible energy that, we had luckily locked into just before the pandemic happened, but we were armored with it. We had this community. We had other examples of some leaders who had broken free. And we didn't, there was a really strong, in our community, there was a really strong message of no fear, of collaboration. And when the whole world was dividing, we were joining forces around the world.
It was just like we luckily had this high vibration food in our toolbox, and
that was a huge part of it.
And mentorship from you and other leaders who were just like, this is happening regardless of what's going on in the world. It's even, we're going to see a surge now of
Mm.
people who are looking for natural healing modalities.
Mm.
So we were amped up and we turned that fear into opportunity.
We saw the
which,
opportunity in
yeah.
it. I think, yeah, that's exactly it. We saw.
I think there's a lesson in there in that fear is contagious, but so is courage. Right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're around people who gravitate towards or give into fear, it makes us more vulnerable. And when we're around the opposite people who are displaying courage, it inspires us to be more courageous too. So you really leaned into this community of entrepreneurs that help to elevate your own mindset.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Before, if Pyram hadn't come into our life, I was on medication for mental health. So I was already struggling with anxiety. I can't imagine where I would have been following the path before. And I saw people like me go into some pretty dark places at that time. I watched kind of what would have happened to me, I think I saw. And we chose a different path. Luckily this is came into our life. The nutrition absolutely helps your mental health, because our gut is our where our mental, our mind, really, our
Absolutely.
hormones, and all those chemicals that so having that, armoring ourselves with like a really healthy gut really helped. And then feeling that, like you said, it's contagious, like feeling the energy of people who were like, just to be locked arms with people who were not succumbing to fear and the low vibrations.
If I could just say something quickly about that. At 2020, we were in Belize. So we traveled to Belize with our kids and we stayed in a community there. I was still working part-time for the same company. So I had to like clock in at a certain time. I had to go on Microsoft Teams and kind of sit there and do meetings and, check off my to-do list, action items. And the stress of that was, I think, normalized. I think a lot of people, they said, oh, it's so much easier to work at home. I could be in my pajamas. I could do this. You're still answering to somebody else. You're still punching in and out, right? That stress compared to the freedom feeling of being with Pyram. For an example was, we went out snorkeling with the family, and typically I would have been checking my phone for emails like, oh God, I got to be back at a certain time, or oh God, I have to make these changes or something. We got an email from Pyram saying, congratulations, you just ranked up and you earned the $500 bonus. And that was like leveraged work. That wasn't like us, punching in, punching out, like writing messages. That was like other people accruing volume under us, and that helped us get to that point. So here we are, like, that was such a magical moment where we were like, wow, we're just out here enjoying ourselves, taking our time, not stressing, and we just ranked up. We just got a bonus.
Yeah.
That's exciting. And just to add the disclaimer, of course, it requires effort, right? Of course, you put the time into it, just like you would any business. This is a business. And if you treat it like one, it could certainly pay you like one. And if you treat it like a hobby, then it could pay you like a hobby, which are usually time consuming and costly. But you really treated it like a business. You really put the effort into it and saw the rewards from your hard work. So that was really awesome.
Well, it's fun, like that's so much fun. It was like, I get to be my own boss. I get to make my own hours. Like I got really excited about how fun kind of getting to treat this like a business was.
We sometimes forget, because if we've been working a job for a while, and there's certainly nothing wrong with that, but you almost kind of lose touch with reality of what true freedom actually feels like. I describe it as Sunday morning every single day of the week. Sunday mornings, how you may sleep in and make pancakes for the family, and you have one of those mornings where you focus on self-care and you drink your cup of tea. Well, that's kind of what it feels like every day. Now, granted, being an entrepreneur requires also a level of discipline. Yeah. So it's not about fluffing off what you have to do or need to do to be successful, but it's about having control over it. It's about being able to decide when and where and how you work and with the people that you work with.
Yeah.
And I describe that as true freedom. So that's pretty awesome.
It is, and there's freedom and discipline. Like there's ways to look at discipline where it's such a joy and it's such a privilege to get to be consistent and get to for me, it was building my confidence, because for so long, especially when I had to work for someone else, like I was going through the motions, but it wasn't for me, all these things. So I never felt like really connected to the outcomes. Whereas with this, like the discipline of it became a real like self-healing thing for me, because I got to just build this beautiful relationship with myself to know like, wow, like I get to, and like you said, it's choosing, right? So we're getting to choose who we work with, who we get to work with, when we work. And so with all those freedoms and where we work and all of that, so it becomes actually just like, it really meshed in with like, it became a hard to say I like to say we were always working but never working, because even though it's all a mindset of how you look at the work, it was fun, and we have enjoyed the process, even the hard things and discomfort. Not everything is, obviously we're growing, so there's growing pains at times, but to really like having that, to know it's our baby, that it doesn't feel like it's working for someone else, and it's like it's just a different kind of
the same way
discipline.
we converted that fear into being bold. It's you just pivot how you think of a Zoom call or how you think of creating content. It could be fun. We made it fun. And if you look at our reels, like it's clearly, this isn't like hard work for us. We get creative, we get inspired, we do some stuff, we put it out there, and we just attract people. So there's no real like hard selling, which we never wanted to do. We weren't good at that. So we just became like magnets for people to come to us. We were the lighthouse, bringing people in from the dark. So it was really gratifying, very rewarding. And for Allison to like find her calling and really excel at something that not only acknowledges how she's exceptional, but like celebrates it.
Yeah.
It was really, really profound. So this is what we want to duplicate over and over.
Thank you so much for sharing your stories. And I just wanted to share with our audience, or those who may be watching this, that we're by no means saying that entrepreneurship is a superior path or it's elevated, because for many, many people, working a job, working a linear income career is what they're most aligned with and what they prefer. And we celebrate that. We honor that. We say continue doing that. But we also want to remind people that there are options, that if you're not aligned with that path, that there's another path that's available, and with the right support, with the right system, that and with effort, you can be successful. So we want to give people the options of multiple paths. And there's a lot of people out there right now that are looking for an exit strategy. They're not aligned with a linear income job, or maybe they were at one time and now they're not, because their circumstances have changed and their desires and goals have changed.
Or both, and I think that's also in this economy, like we need some, like a regular job isn't always enough to cut it. And so I'm so grateful, we built this, we were able, because I don't want to say it's an easy business, but it's so easy in terms of how it's all organized for us. So much easier than anything starting from scratch, that you could build this on the side of whatever you're doing, and it doesn't need to take away, it actually, So I would say, even for the people who love working their job, it's always, first of all, we can always use a little more money. We can always use to feel better and be healthier. But that, also the unforeseen things that come up, like what happened with us, right? So that, you're doing well until you're not. And so, some people, it's like you say, dig your well before you're thirsty. It's just a good idea to have this as like this little seed that you plant and, you water, depending on how much money or how fast you want to go is up to you. But it's always, I say, it never hurts to to add it in.
To have a plan B or a plan C. And with all the uncertainty in this world, the term job security is really an oxymoron these days, because what is job security? It doesn't exist anymore. Used to be that you would get a job with a great company. You could see yourself working there 20, 30, 40 years through retirement. Now that just doesn't exist anymore. So the reality is that there is no more job security. And I've seen, spending so many years in corporate, I saw so many people that were blindsided. They thought they were going to be with the company for many, many years, and then something changed unexpectedly. So having that plan B, that additional income stream is not important these days. It's vital. It's vital. And building an exit strategy before you need it is something advisable for everyone. Do you have any closing thoughts before we wrap up this live?
Thank you so much. Well, I want to thank you, Eric. I think what we want to encourage people to do is just be open-minded about it, because when I first started with Purium and network marketing, very closed-minded. I thought it was only going to be one way and one type of thing. And I think it actually delayed our growth. Had I leaned in fully, had I just trusted the process, I think we would have accelerated a lot faster. Not to say that's just part of our path. That was just our journey. And I think everyone should have, like you said, additional income streams. If you are happy at your job, great. But if someone said, why don't you invest in this real estate project, or why don't you buy some precious metals, or something smart for your future, I would hope that you would entertain the idea and possibly commit some financial investment. And in this case, there is really no finance. Yeah, you're buying food for yourself for 1 month, and that's it. That's how you get in the business. So.
Yeah, I would say there's no risk. If you can just try the food out for yourself. I always recommend that people start as a customer just to see, first you have to fall in love with the product. And that's what happened with us. I fell in love with the product. And I think that, everyone can use, even if it's just the personal development, all of these skill sets that we learn in this business apply to whatever you want to do. And so even as a foundation of, for me, this has been more valuable than university. And I have, done a few, I've attempted a few university degrees, haven't finished all of them, but that was something that, I love to learn, but the school system was not conducive to, really teaching the life skills that we need to succeed in all things. And so this business is such a blessing, because you work on your health, you work on your personal development, you have a supportive community, which you just don't see out in the world. And you can make as much money as you really want to. So, yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you both for sharing your journeys with us today. Again, as I started out this live, please follow Allison and Jared's journey. They've built a tremendous residual income business of thousands of people that are following them all over the world. I mean, you talk about building an incredible sales organization that, most people would dream about building. And they've been able to do that, again, with hard work, effort, determination, persistence, consistency, all those qualities over the past 6 or 7 years. So I celebrate you. I honor your achievements, and can't wait to continue following your journey ahead. So thank you all. Thank you so much for joining our live today. Please like, share, and comment on this content. We'd love to keep it interactive and start some conversations with you. If you're interested in potentially joining us on this entrepreneurial journey, we'd love to have you join us. There's plenty of room for more to join our mission. On that note, thanks for watching, and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you so much, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for watching.